All right. Good morning, everyone. Can someone let me know you can hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to try to keep this to about maybe 15, 20 minutes, pretty quick. If you went through the previous class, we all going to cover some of the same topics, but I did add some new content, so it won't be a waste of time for anybody. And we'll get going here.
I'm trying to test my mic. Can anyone hear me this morning?
I can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. I guess you can cancel that order, Mike.
Can you guys see me?
Okay. All right, here we get going. All right, so we're going to talk about what we're going to cover today. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so let's start with what is 8x8 work. I know most of you are going to know this, but I'm going to cover this for brand new employees as well because we're recording this class. So this is going to be a class that brand new employees will watch when they come here to BuildBlock. So what is 8x8 work? It's our telephone and our web conferencing solution. It also interfaces with our physical Polycom phones that we have here at BuildBlock. And it's a fully functional phone, so it just does all the things that a phone normally does. What we're going to talk about today is how to use it. There are basically 4 parts to 8x8: calls, contacts, messages, and meetings. We're going to discuss all 4 of them. We're also going to talk about moderating a little bit, which we did not discuss in the last class. So there'll be an opportunity to learn about moderating a little bit and kind of how that works. And then I'm also going to talk about settings. There's a lot of settings in 8x8, so I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to kind of go over the ones that seem to matter the most. So those are your kind of profile-related settings, and then also what I call the call using settings. Okay, so starting with the very beginning of 8x8, it is a phone. So within your calls tab, which looks like this little phone icon right here, this is where you're going to do your basic phone functionality. You're going to see calls that have come in, both ones that you received and missed, just like on your cell phone. You can, of course, hit calls tab. You can hit a miss tab. The one feature that's in here that we don't functionally use is voicemail. At some companies, your voicemail would pop up right here in the voicemail tab. For us, we have an automated and transcribing function. So you, as all you guys know, but for a new employee, you will get your emails in, or sorry, get your voicemails in an email. You'll have a transcription, and you'll have an attached audio file so that you can listen to the whole thing. And these usually receive, you usually receive these within a minute of the voicemail being received by the system. So it's almost instant. And then the other thing within this that I like to talk about is this button right here, this blue button down here. This just essentially opens up the dial pad, which is no different than the dial pad on your phone. There's 2 ways that you can use the dial pad here. One is you can use this to physically dial, or to dial your physical phone. I don't know if anybody knows this, but you can open up the app, type a phone, hit enter, and if you have a desk phone, it'll start ringing immediately, and you can pick it up and talk to the person. The other way that you can use this, probably the way that more people have used it, is in like a work from home or work remote setting where you don't have a phone. So you might be using a headset or the microphones on your laptop to talk. This would be how you would make your phone calls, by typing in numbers and things like that. Okay, and then the contact section. Contact section works exactly like contacts on your phone. The main thing that I like to point out with contacts related to BuildBlock is, as a new employee, it's probably one of the greatest places to go get contact info of other employees. We have the printout sheet. We have a number of places you can get contact info, but this is a really great place for brand new people who maybe don't know, how to contact some random person. It's going to have their email, it's going to have their phone number, extensions, titles, all those kind of things in one place in a searchable way. Now, going into messages. Messages is essentially a fully functional text messaging program, so just like on your cell phone. including things like media, so photos, video, audio files, stuff like that. It'll do all that. This is something that I use a lot, especially with IT tasks. If I'm working on someone's computer and need to let them know what's going on, I'll use this to kind of text message them. It's also a great way, say for like sales guys, if you've got a customer that you're talking to, and just like usual, you may not want to give them your personal cell phone, but they need to text you a photo or something like that. This is a way to give them a cell phone number essentially they can integrate with, and you don't have to give them your personal information. And then
where is that contacts thing at, Mike? I don't see it on mine. Can you show me again?
Yeah, so it's this icon right here. So basically,
under your text messaging.
Yeah. So we started with calls, then we went into contacts, and now we're in messages, which is what they call text messaging.
Oh, okay, I see it now. I've never.
Now they've rolled out a new feature, I think, like maybe just last week, but here pretty recently, so none of you may have even seen it. If you go down here to the normal blue button to send a text message, you can still send a text message normally, no different than ever before. They have this new thing called Rooms. Rooms is essentially their attempt at doing Slack. So it's essentially a text message room, but I think instead of it being text messaging, it's all internal users. It's there. It essentially works like Slack. Shouldn't be any need for anybody to use it. Just basically ignore it. I'm just pretty much bringing it up so that everybody knows. Yeah, it's out there. It works just like Slack. In our company, just use Slack if you're going to be doing that kind of work. Okay, now we're going into meetings. So this is what we're doing right now. We're in a meeting section here. And by meetings, they mean video meetings. So similar to what Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting. So this is our tool for doing this. This works both internally and externally. So just again, for new employees, if you want to do a meeting, say you're a salesman, you want to do a meeting with a potential customer, you can use our system to do that, just like WebEx or any of those things. Now, there's a few things I want to point out about the meetings tab. Over here, you're going to see upcoming meetings. So like right here in red is the meeting that we're in currently. Any upcoming meeting, if you highlight or basically just put your cursor over it, it will turn white. And you can just hit the blue button and immediately join the meeting. So that's a quick way to join meetings if you have a meeting coming up. And then I also wanted to show this right here. This is where you share your personal link or your personal meeting space. So what your personal meeting space is nothing more than one of these, a conference space dedicated to you. Excuse me. The reason that matters is it is dedicated to you, so you don't have to worry about somebody else jumping on top of you. So if you do want to have a meeting, say on Wednesday, I'm going to have a meeting with one of you guys to talk about whatever, I'll share this link with you. You don't have to worry about, someone else trying to have a meeting on top of that. So each one's unique, and we can all be meeting at the same time on our unique links. So I use this a lot for IT-related stuff. I think the sales guys use it a lot too. Great tool that's available to everybody that has access to 8x8. So anybody that has access to 8x8, you can hop in here into your meetings tab. You can copy this link right here. And with that link sent to anybody, they'll be able to join the meeting. And essentially what that link will do is if they go to join the meeting and they've never integrated with 8x8 before, just like WebEx or anything else, or ask them to download the program, get it installed, etc. So it pretty much is a one-stop link for you to send to people that you want to meet with.
Do they have to, with that, if you're going to set up a meeting, do the people that are going to come to the meeting have to be enrolled in 8x8 into the meeting?
And that's what I was saying. Like if they've used 8x8 before, it would be very similar to Zoom or WebEx or anything. If the app's already on their computer, it'll just open. If the link detects that there is no app, it'll take them to a website link that says go ahead and download this and install it, and then you can join the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So once we've joined a meeting and we've had a meeting, I wanted to discuss one thing. Basically, everything within meetings that we've just looked at has been within this upcoming meetings tab. There's also a recent meetings tab, and there's really only kind of one thing within recent meetings that's helpful, and that is if you recorded a meeting. This is where you go to retrieve the video file. So within recent meetings, you will see a list of recent meetings. That might be helpful for you. I've never found it to be super helpful or anything, but what you can do is scroll down through the list, and if you recorded the meeting, you will see this icon, that little double loop looking icon. You click on that and it'll show you a video or say recording in this link. You simply just click on the video anywhere, and then it shows you this view, and you can download the video. So the few of us that kind of do that, you know how to do that, but I just wanted to show everybody you can do this on any meeting. It will announce in the meeting that it's being recorded. And then, of course, at the end of the meeting, you can do whatever you need to do with that recording. So this is the way that you go retrieve recordings of meetings after a meeting has happened.
So until about 2 weeks ago, I think Brian fixed it for me. I was going to recent meetings to join our meetings because my wasn't syncing with the calendar, and I'd like to make sure no one else has that same problem, that they're actually synced up and getting reminders or whatever where you're joining the meetings in progress rather than it not being synced. Can you make sure everybody's synced, or does anybody?
Yeah, we have no reports.
Not synced up?
Mine's not syncing.
Okay.
They didn't
We'll
hear
look
me.
at it. We'll go send me a ticket, itsupport@buildblock.com. Anybody that has an issue with that, we'll look at it. Okay, so we're going to get into settings a bit here. There's a lot of settings in 8x8. I'm only going to cover the ones that I really think are applicable. There's about 4 or 5 that almost anybody will have to mess with at one point in time. The rest you can pretty much ignore. 90% of the settings that you're going to need on a day-to-day basis are within what they call the profile menu, and the profile menu lives in your little icon. So I have mine set to my actual picture. If you haven't set a picture, I believe it's just your initial or something like that. So if you come into here, this is where you're going to be able to do simple stuff like set status. Of course, they have their default statuses, and then you can type a specific message if you want. You can select and block caller ID. This is a function that I don't believe many people use. And for some, it's more capable than others. So like, I think an example might be Ramona. Ramona has a lot of different phone numbers that come to her eventually, and she can call out from all of them. So this would be basically, if you have access to multiple phone numbers, this is where you could select which one you're calling out from. You could alternatively also just block it where it does a caller ID. I don't know what you would want that for, but that's where that functionality is. It's right here. So like my main number is this one right here. So that's why basically whatever your number is, it's going to default to that. But say everybody that's in sales, you would have your sales ring group number here would be here as well. And then this is also just quickly where you go to voicemail and call forwarding. Both of these, to do them, kind of have like a 4 or 5 step process. I've walked through a few of you through it when you needed to use it. I'm going to go ahead and tomorrow, or probably this weekend, do classes that just step-by-step show how to do both of these. So early next week, I'll have just quick, 2 or 3 minute videos out that just show you step-by-step how to do each of these, because it kind of is a little bit complicated. So I'll have one out soon, both how to record and update your voicemail, and then if you're going away for any reason, how to do call forwarding, but also how to kind of undo call forwarding when you come back from work and make sure everything's working the right way again. Now, going into the kind of traditional settings meeting.
Sorry, Mike, can you back up, please?
Yeah.
On the voicemail, so can you change your outgoing message from the app without calling in the system?
Which app?
The 8x8 app, like on your phone. So basically, usually when I hire somebody, one of the things we do is we set up like the weekend greeting to say that, generically you're out of the office. So if you call in sick or something comes up and you got to go out, you used to be able to call your own voicemail, hit star, and then go through and set that up. Now, when people are sick, they're not always setting something up that lets people know they're out of the office. And I'd like to make sure we have the easiest route to, no matter how sick you are, that you can do a few little things there, and, your outgoing message will say that you're out of the office.
I don't know anything about doing it with the star and all that, but the way I'm going to recommend, and I can show anybody how to do it this way, is you can have as many voicemail recordings as you want. So you just need to plan ahead. and have a sick message. And then as soon as you're sick, you just select it and you're good to go. So I already have 4 or 5 voicemail messages for different occasions. I have one for when I'm out shooting video. I have one for when I'm out of the office completely, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I'm on doing various things, I just select the voicemail that's most appropriate to my work day.
Yeah, I just have them set the weekend greeting, say I'm going to be out of the office today, so it doesn't really matter why, but I just want to know how to change it so I can make sure we start doing that again.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do you do it right here? The voicemail setup or
yeah. Yeah, all it is a drop-down menu, and then you just select, you know, like anything that has a drop-down, you just add to the list of drop-downs and then select the appropriate one for the moment. So I'll do a class this weekend that walks through how to get through that menu.
Thank you.
No problem. So going into the traditional settings menu, which is this icon, the kind of traditional settings icon down at the bottom, I'm only going to talk about a few things here. There's a ton of stuff in here. There's only a few things that you really need. And these are the settings that you can't easily get to in any other settings menu. So essentially the primary thing is probably look and feel. You know, do you want it to have bright colors, dark colors, those kind of things? You simply just come in here into look and feel, and they essentially have a dark mode, a light mode, etc. I have mine in the dark mode because I like that. And then the other thing is these 2 settings down at the bottom. I'm mostly pointing these out because they cause problems for people. More than likely, we're turning these off, not turning them on. So one is start work at desktop login. That's just the auto start setting like you would have for any program. I, by default, turn that off for everybody. I would always recommend you have that off by default. Reason being is the more programs that you have that auto start at login, the slower your startups are every time you restart your computer. So I normally turn that off for everybody. And then the other one is keep, what do they call it? Keep work always on top. It literally just keeps this program on top of anything else at all times. The idea behind this is in certain situations, if this was like a critical program to your job and you wanted to make sure it was never hidden by anything else, you could do that. In our case, there's almost nobody that's really a primary mission. So you can turn that on if it's helpful for you, but most people usually just go, why can I not get this thing to go away? And so if you can't get your thing to go away, this is one of the reasons that might be happening. So just to circle back real quick, you set your status and you set your caller ID stuff kind of in this main menu. This is where you get to voicemail. This is where you get to call forwarding, which I'll have classes on soon. And then if you need kind of look and feel stuff, that's where you go into the main menu. That's also where you find these other little annoying settings. Okay, now the call using menu is this guy right here. And I'm going to go back real quick so you can see it in the big menu. So you've got all your main icons right here. You've got your icon right there. This is the call using button. It looks like a headset. And this is the quickest place to select your microphone during calls. So this isn't going to affect video, but it's always going to affect audio. And more specifically, if you're having the issue of you're getting phone calls and they're either coming on your desktop or your computer and you want them on your phone, or vice versa, your phone's ringing, and you want your desktop to ring, this is the quick place to adjust that. So once you're within this menu, you can select both the microphone and speaker that you want, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. You can also switch between computer and desk phone. So I have mine selected to computer. So if somebody was to call me right now because I'm at home, essentially my computer would ring. When I go back to the office, I log in and I select desk phone so that my desk phone will be the thing that rings and I can pick it up and talk on my desk phone. Now, in my particular instance here at home, I really only have one microphone attached to the computer, so it's pretty easy. It's going to default to that. Now, in most cases, a lot of people around here are going to have 2, because a lot of people are going to be on laptops. You're going to have the laptop one, and then a lot of you are also using webcams. You're going to have the one on the webcam. You might have to select the right microphone. Usually, the easiest way to kind of figure out which microphone is the right one is to be looking at this speaker indicator right here, because as you're talking, you're going to see that line moving. So a lot of times when they're like, I don't even know which microphone's picking me up, you can easily see this way. And usually if I log in your computer, this is what I'm looking at because I can't hear you at all. So I'm kind of looking at this as an indicator of what is your computer hearing. So this is always a quick and easy place to select microphones, but more importantly, if people call me and they go, man, my phone's ringing or my desk's ringing and I need the opposite, this is where we're going to go to fix that. Okay, I'm going to talk about moderating, but before I go into that, are there any other settings related questions that people have? Okay, moderating is another thing where there's a lot of settings. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, just a quick question on devices. So if you leave your desk and let's say you're in your car, do you have to relog back in on your cell phone 8x8 app?
You
because
don't.
I'm seeing that now, and I didn't see that before.
So I just recently was playing with this, and I need to do it a little bit more to understand like all the ways it can happen so that I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. But for sure, here's what I've experienced. I'll be in a meeting exactly like this. I'm at my desk and I need to go. So what I will do is I will get the 8x8 app on my phone and I will open it up and I will join the meeting. I'll just leave this going. And essentially what I've experienced is as soon as I start to join the meeting on my phone, it'll go, hey, do you want me to end it on the desktop and start it here? It has over the exact verbiage, but something along that line. I'll say, yes, my desktop thing goes away and it opens up here. It's not as smooth coming back the other way. What I've experienced coming off my phone onto the desktop is I have to just leave the meeting and then come back and rejoin the meeting on the desktop. But I just recently kind of realized that that exists. So I'm going to play with it a bit more and better understand exactly how it works. And then I can kind of re-explain it once I know for sure. But there is definitely something going on there, kind of what's trying to hand off between the desktop meeting and, in my case, the iPhone meeting.
So, like, I see,
Yeah,
like,
I was
Earl,
just
you
wanted to
joined
double
the,
check on that. I appreciate it.
like, Earl, when you join the meetings, you're on both. What are you doing there? Are you joining on your computer and your phone? And if so, is
Probably
something not
audio on
working?
the phone. That's very common for a lot of people.
Earl, what are you doing there with that when you do that? Oh, wow.
Okay. We'll let Earl pop in if he does.
Oh, I think it maxes. Is it true that it maxes out after 2 devices? So you can't really have 3 going. So it would be desktop or phone or cell phone, right?
I haven't tried that, so I just have to try it and find out. I've had 2 devices because sometimes in certain instances I'll have my desktop be the video and then my phone be the audio. And you can definitely do that because I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But I'll have to test about the 3rd device just because I haven't tried that to see what happens.
Yeah, I do.
So I'll do a little bit of
like
testing and try to have a better understanding of,
because it's better video.
like, essentially handing off is what that's really trying to hand off between different devices. So I'll test on that a little bit more and then I can include that here soon. But the short answer is yes. 8x8 does try to do some handing off as we move from device to device live in meetings. I just don't fully understand it yet. So I'll work on that a little bit. Okay, so when you're going to moderate a meeting, and moderator just means you're the one hosting or creating or starting the meeting, the first thing to know is that you have to start the meeting. And all I mean by that is that I think in WebEx and some of these other programs, if you schedule a meeting, there's ways to have those meetings just automatically start. In the case of 8x8, you as the host have to go hit your blue start meeting button, which is located right below your link, and then everybody else can hop on. So I've had some times where I'm the host of the meeting, you know, I'm 4 or 5 minutes late, and then I'm realizing that, you know, nobody could even get in until I did. So that's just a note that if you're moderating a meeting in 8x8, you have to be the one to get it going. Now,
do you know why sometimes you have to allow people in the meeting?
No,
Like
I don't know why that is. I think that has more to do with the person on the other side and how they're joining the meeting. Because that's never happened to me one time in any 8x8 meeting. That's part of why I don't know, is I've never been able to make that happen to me. once you become a moderator, and you basically become a moderator just by starting a meeting, you're going to get a new menu set down here at the bottom. If you don't see it immediately, you just have to move your mouse over the video and then it will appear. There's some primary settings in here, and if anybody wants to have like an advanced moderator class, I'm happy to go through and teach each and every little thing. Just most people don't need to know that. You're essentially going to have some basic buttons that you need to have. You're going to have your normal audio and video mute buttons, very similar to if you're just joining a meeting. You're going to have a new one, which is this green one right here. This is your share screen button, which is very common among a lot of presenters and meetings. And we'll show you specifically how to use that in a minute. You have some things like this is a chat functionality. This is raise hand. You see people occasionally do this in all meetings, but not very common. And then right here, these little 3 dots, that's essentially your more settings, which is true both here, but also kind of universally in programs today. Almost in any program, if you see 3 little dots, that generally means more settings. So once you get into more settings, or sorry, before we get into more settings, as to usual, if you select essentially to mute either your audio or your video, it's going to show the little X through it. That's how you visually know that you're muted yourself. And then they have the little arrows. The arrows are a way without going in the menu to select your audio or video. So if you were to select the little arrow on audio, you would see something very similar where you see all your different microphones, and they try to do little indicators as well. And then again, similar on video. If you were to select video, I only have one camera, so it's only going to show one camera. But if you had multiple cameras for whatever reason, you would see them. You would see them live, and you'd be able to select which one you wanted to select. And then here within the 3 dots extra menu, there's a bunch of settings in here. There are 2 that I find to be helpful. One is just to mute everyone, which is, again, if you have a meeting like this with a lot of people, maybe at the beginning, if everyone's kind of not settled in and you're trying to get everyone's attention, sometimes I'll mute everyone just so that everyone can hear me and say, hey, we're about to start the meeting or whatever else. And then the start recording button. So, things that like staff meetings, we might record those, or like in this instance, I'm recording this meeting so we can use it as training later. This is where you go to start recordings. When you start the recording, one thing to know is it's not immediate. It takes a moment for the program to start. So you'll see visually on the screen and it'll say things, but you also just need to be listening for what some people heard at the start of the meeting, this meeting is now being recorded or whatever it says. At that point, then you're actually recording. Now, if you select this green guy, the share screen button, this is essentially this screen right here on the right side is what's going to pop up. I have 2 desktops. Almost everybody around here does. So you're going to see the multiple desktops. You're going to get an option to select the one that you want to share. And then you just hit share and it's shared off with everybody. The easiest way if you need to switch screens or share a different screen is just to stop sharing your screen, hit reshare again. You'll be right back here. You can select the other screen and go ahead and share it off. And if you have 7 monitors or however many, it'll show you all the monitors that you have. You also can come over here to application window and select just a specific window. So what I mean by that is if you're sharing what's going on, like I'm showing you a PowerPoint right now, I could select PowerPoint and no matter what screen it was on, it would work. That's a little wonky. I don't think many people have any need for it. For the most part, you're just sharing one screen or the other.
Mike, could we also drag a window over into whatever one's active? Just do
You
it
totally
that way?
can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can totally do that if you don't want to just drag something over. I guess what I'm saying is like if you're trying to share a whole nother screen, there's not like a quick like switch screen thing. It's more just in the screen share, select the other one. Now you're there. And I should also say too, there may be a way, but I am not aware of a way of sharing multiple screens at the same time. You're pretty much locked into sharing one screen at a time.
Yeah, from what I've found, dragging it to the screen you're using is usually the easiest.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think about that. That's much easier than resharing the other screen. So those are kind of the basic moderator settings. There's obviously other stuff here. There's subtitles and performance. And performance is essentially when you're looking at how well everyone's streaming. And if almost no one would need this. If people are in a meeting and they're sounding real bad, I start to look at this to try to figure out what's going on. There's stuff like speaker stats. You can see after a meeting how long each person talked in the meeting, stuff like that. So a lot of these, there's a lot of more settings in here. These are kind of the basics that almost anybody who ever moderates a meeting will need to know. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is to remind everybody that 8x8 is cross-platform. So there's an iPhone app, there's an Android app, there's a Windows app. It works in the web browser, which is also a thing that it appears 8x8 is pushing a lot right now as their updates come out. They're talking about more and more features and putting it into the web browser, meaning that basically you go to 8x8.com from anywhere and all your phone settings and stuff will work from there. So as they get a little more advanced down that road, that may be something that we bring into the company a little bit more if there's a need. So if you let me know if that's something that you think is helpful to you. It's definitely something they're working on right now and rolling a lot of features out. So that's kind of my presentation. It took us about a half an hour to a little bit longer than I had planned. But basically, my goal with this class, like I said, is to cover the basics, especially for new employees, so that they kind of have a sense of how to use an 8x8. And this is your opportunity now if there's any questions about what I covered, but then also if there's stuff that you guys want me to go back and do some research and come back with, happy to do that too. Let me know.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this earlier. You do have this deck available for us. Is that correct?
Yes. So I did this class like back in December and I forgot to record it. So I got this one recorded. I will publish it out with the PowerPoint. And then my goal is, as I do these, I'm going to record them. And then hopefully here in a few months, we'll have a library of programs or a library of videos on how to use all of our basic programs.
Cool.
Can you go to the text messaging?
Yeah.
Section.
Yeah. That would be here.
So, this is something that we've been using more and more, and I definitely want to encourage the sales team to use it more, including the operations team, which, by the way, we forgot to invite to the meeting, as well as accounting. These IT classes should be for everyone. So you might have to do the meeting again. Of course, they can watch it, but they wouldn't be able to ask any questions. But if you could look at it on your actual screen where you can interact with it. I was just kind of looking at it. I use it, but and I know Eric uses it a lot, and he might have some comments, but I just sort of recognize the phone numbers, and once I've talked to somebody, I might start the text thread there. But you could actually, I believe, create, add contacts in here, like go in and change the name. So I would think that it would recognize the phone number after that. Like you could put the name, but I haven't tried that. I was just kind of playing with it earlier this morning.
So basically, I didn't cover this because I didn't think many people will ever use it. But within contacts, you have your company contacts like everybody sees. Your favorites are, typical. You can star some of these and make them your favorites. And then you have my contacts, which are these non-corporate numbers that you save. So on any one of these numbers, if you just right-click it and then create a contact, it will look exactly like a normal contact. It will just show up in this My Contacts tab. And then it will function the same way. So if you go to dial a number and you search a name, it will search the company contacts and the ones that you've created. So if you create one for Bob the customer and you search Bob, Bob will come up once you've created that contact.
Yeah, it's really helpful to be able to look at the phone number on 8x8 when you receive a text and just go and match it up with CRM and find out who that is, and then throw his contact name in 8x8 if you can, because it's just so easy and seamless to set up contact there. You may as well put that customer's name in, because you may not get a text back from that guy until about 3 or 4 weeks later. And it just makes things a lot smoother to be able to continue, not have to go back into CRM every time. But I also have on my Signature line that I'm available through phone or text, and that makes a huge difference. You start to see a lot more texts coming your way when you offer that up as an option to your customers.
Yeah, and there's a lot more stuff you can actually throw in that contact details. Like you can choose their title, and so it's a lot more than just phone number. You can put a lot of details in that.
And what I'll do,
Yeah,
I don't know if this
you could put
exists.
their picture in there if you want.
I don't know if this exists, but I'm going to do some research because I'm hearing you guys talk about syncing contacts from CRM to this. That may be possible, where you could just search here and it would search CRM. So I'm going to look into that and see if there's a way to make that happen. Any other 8x8 questions on the phone side, meeting side, video side?
We'll probably go in our sales meeting and look at that. And Eric, you can show us. I clicked on a missed call or an outgoing call or something today, and it seemed like there was a way to go in and type in that information. So, but it's definitely a lot of people want to communicate this way. So we want to start using that function a lot more. And I think it helps to add the people. Like, I recognize the numbers, but it would probably be better to just have their names and stuff in there. So we'll look further at that. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I think it's one of the cooler features that we're trying to adopt and hopefully quickly and get a lot better at it. It took us like a year to start using Slack, and now it's like, we couldn't do it without it. But
well, and the text messaging part of this seems to be one of those things that most people, once they start to use it a lot, because it's really super helpful to be able to text message people and not be your personal number and all that kind of stuff. And also the ability to text message people from your desktop, not have to, you're already typing emails and stuff, and you can just send a text real quick or whatever else.
You can type instead of using your fingers. Yeah. Like, I hate text messaging, but I like this because I can use a keyboard to do it.
Me too. And like I said, I'm going to do some more research about, because CRM is very popular and this is very popular, there's some possibility, there's some integrations there. So I'm going to do a little bit of research and see if there's something we can do there. I made some notes about some of the other little specific questions you guys had. I'll follow up on those. I will 100% follow up on voicemail and call forwarding. I'll have considerably more information on both those topics about how to do those things. And yeah, I think that's everything I have, unless there's any other questions. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody a whole lot for helping me with this. And if you have any other follow-up questions, you just send me a Slack message and I would be happy to help. Everybody have a good Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks a lot.